Learn it, live it, lead it. Forgiveness. Greetings, everyone. This is Dr. Gary, and this is your Shepherd's Leadership Tip of the Day. Forgiveness. Well, how do we learn it? Key scripture for us is Colossians chapter 3, verse 13. Bearing with one another and forgiving each other, whoever has a complaint against anyone, just as the Lord forgave you, so also should you. What is forgiveness? The first century word translated to forgive means to pardon or remove the guilt. This gracious act does not erase the wrong act itself or take away the consequences of hurtful words and bad behaviors. However, it does effectively remove the wrongdoer's guilt and our own need to get revenge. The other New Testament verb, forgive, means to graciously and genuinely cancel a debt. Luke chapter 7, verse 42-43, and Ephesians 4:32 are illustrations of the use of this second verb. Well, how do we live it? Well, let's look at the mechanics of forgiveness. Matthew chapter 6, verse 15 says, "But if you do not forgive others, then your Father will not forgive your transgressions." Now, to fully understand this verse on forgiveness, we need to look ahead into Matthew 18:21-35, where Jesus teaches a very practical parable. There are four scenes to this parable. Scene number 1, verses 21-22. Peter's question: How many times should I forgive someone who sins against me? 7 times? Jesus' response: No, 70 times 7. Now, there is a mathematical equation or number that we can arrive at by doing the multiplication. Is that what Jesus intended? Or perhaps did he intend to say, no matter how many times you need to forgive? Scene number 2, verses 23 and 27. The debt. A servant owes a staggering sum of money. The decree: the king declares the family is to be sold into slavery. But the desperation: the servant pleads for mercy. The compassion: the king, moved with compassion, forgives the entire debt. Scene number 3, verses 28-30. Another servant owes the forgiven servant a small amount of money. A pitiful response. Second service begs for a little more time to pay the debt. The pitiless response. The forgiven servant throws the second servant into prison. Scene number 4, verse 31-35. The forgiven but unforgiving servant is summoned before the furious king. The reminder in verse 31-32, you evil servant, I forgave you that tremendous debt because you pleaded with me. The rebuke in verse 33, shouldn't you have showed mercy on your fellow servant just as I had mercy on you? The outcome, verse 34, the king throws the servant into prison until he pays back his debt in full. The overall lesson, verse 35, God does not forgive the unforgiving attitude of others. Well, how do we lead it? From Jesus' parable of the unforgiving servant, we see that to be unwilling to forgive is to disobey God's commandment in Colossians 3:13, ignore the infinite mercy God has shown, and then to experience the torturous effects of bitterness. You see, refusing to forgive is lethal. But to forgive is to learn what it means to trust God completely, The incarnate the gospel, in other words, live out what Christ demonstrated for us. Vanquish the power of evil. Romans 12:21 can be of help there. Experience freedom and peace. You see, choosing to forgive is life giving. Learn it, live it, lead it. When? Right now.